Good morning everybody and welcome. My name is Ian Fletcher and we're doing a webinar today introducing Docusoft. That's paper systems at a great price. It's a pleasure to be with you, and we're going to be here for about an hour, and I'm here with Kevin Salt and Robin Nathan. Good morning guys.
Morning. Morning Ian.
And everything all right this bright and breezy sunny day?
It's a lovely morning, isn't it?
If you're listening in Scotland it isn't, but everywhere else it's beautiful here at 2020 Towers this morning. And we're going to be muting the sound as usual, so there's quite a few of you online, and please, if you want to stop and ask Robin or Kevin a question, please just post one on the board and I'll ask it for you. So what we're going to do is have a look, I think, Kevin, at the agenda, aren't we? Is that correct? And we're going to have a look at background, things to consider, then we're going to have a document demo live on screen as we speak, showing the system, and hopefully we'll look at the benefits of a less paper system, and then we'll take some questions from our audience. So, Kevin, do you want to tell us some background and tell us about why document management is important?
Okay, basically there's all sorts of terminology for document management. Paperless office is one, we'll see some more in a minute, but they all mean effectively the same thing, and it's really storing documents electronically that we can retrieve them again very, very quickly and efficiently. History we'll have a brief look at. Why should we do it at all? We'll look at the efficiencies that result from it later on, and we'll look at some statistics on how much it costs to actually push paper around the office.
Okay, so good.
What we're gonna...
Because this is one of the big four things, isn't it, that firms of accountants should do. You know, when you had that survey you did recently, where dual screens, less paper solution, moving to the cloud, online accounts. This is one of those big four things firms must do to be efficient and effective now.
Yeah, it's one of the big four, exactly as you say. And my own practice has now been, come 1st of April, would have been using document management systems for 7 years, which is incredible. Hard to believe, but
you wouldn't work any other way.
Wouldn't be without it. Really wouldn't be without it these days.
You've got some terminology on there. What does all that mean?
We're not going to look at them in detail. It's just basically different people's interpretations or different ways of looking at paperless office document management. What does it involve? Portals are the in word these days, and we'll look at portals in a bit more detail later on as well. So that's just any of those mean the same thing. History, why do it? Why do it now? If you tried to do it a few years ago, you wouldn't have done it, quite simply because of the expense. Things like optical storage, they were hugely expensive. It was all very, very much designed as people wanted it, rather than off-the-shelf systems as we've got now. So you just wouldn't do it if it was like it was a few years back. It's all got very, very easy to do, much, much cheaper, and there's always the implications of trying to do something when you're an established firm. If you're starting from scratch, you're obviously in an ideal position, as you would be with anything, I guess. But if you're going to start a new practice from day one, that's the time to do it. So that's...
So if people are listening today and they haven't done it, you're going to say this is why you should do it.
You should do it, whatever.
Regardless.
Regardless. But if you're starting from scratch, you've obviously got a clean sheet and can really do anything from scratch. So just some stats. These are very old stats. These go back about 10 years now, but they were quite significant sums of money kicking around on there. So reconstructing a lost file, you probably wouldn't be able to reconstruct a lost file, to be perfectly honest. Retrieving documents, having people, filing clerks. We used to have a filing clerk in our office years ago.
I remember those. That's one out of the memory bank, isn't it, a filing clerk?
Yeah, but, no more filing clerks, no more paper to file. But huge amounts of expense in maintaining paper records, not least of all the paperwork that goes with it, the cabinets, the space.
Okay, so I guess quite a few people on the line today are listening and saying, well, yep, okay, I've got sort of a partial solution, I've got a paper solution. You know, let's go and have a look at this less paper then. Yep.
Okay, what we're going to look at, and we'll see them in the demo, things to do with post. How do you deal with post in and out of the office? How do you deal with emails, which is always a very hot topic? How do you deal with general filing? What procedures do you put in place? And how do you know that people have actually dealt with the paperwork, or I use the term paperwork loosely because you're talking electronic documents here, but how do you know they dealt with it? Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So that's what we're going to look at. So post, when you're looking at post, there's no hard and fast rules with document management. It's really down to your own procedures and how you want to do it. So there are people that want to see every piece of post that comes into the office. There are still firms where the partner comes in at 9:30 and opens the post and distributes it. All that can be done electronically. So there are no hard and fast rules, and you can design your systems to cope with how you want to work.
I mean, you can look at it manually if you want, and then scan it in, can't you? Or scan it in and then look at it. Either way, it doesn't really matter, does it? These days.
There's no black and white. This is the way you must do it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing to get across.
I think the most important thing is, if you're happy with the way you do your filing, is to replicate that electronically, isn't it?
To a degree, sometimes there are more efficient ways of doing things. So
that's where Robin will come in and tell us on his experience of installing lots of document management systems, about how he does it.
That's it.
So we'll pick up on Robin a bit later. Good.
Email management, has it been dealt with? Who's looked at it? Is it stored somewhere? Is it stored in people's individual outlooks? Always a danger, always a problem. So again, systems need to be put in place to deal with emails. General filing, how do you deal with filing now? Obviously, if you've got a paper-based file, everything will go on it. You might have color-coded pieces of paper. I know our files used to be yellow sheets for bills and copy bills and green sheets
for follow-up letters, all sorts, without the memory
box. All sorts of pretty colours around the place. Is it filed correctly? Is it filed at all? Is the email available for people to look at? So all sorts of things to consider there, and again, we'll see that in a minute. Procedures, when and where to file, what are we doing with those pieces of paper, how are we getting them into the system. So procedures, again, it's as well to have procedures put in place, but there is no right or wrong way, as I emphasize all the way through, on how to do things. What are we doing with communication with the client or internally? How do we know people have looked at the system, looked at the documents coming through the system? How do we know they've dealt with them? How do we know how many people have looked at it? Has everybody looked at it that should have looked at it? And again, the word portal appears, and so we'll pick up on portal again later on. So that's just a very brief overview
of some of the issues we're going to look at today with Robin.
So we hand over to Robin to take us through.
Well, let's have a live demo, Robin. Let's go and have a look and see how this thing works. Just give us an introduction. You go and visit lots of firms of accountants and installed less paper systems in there.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, we've installed hundreds of systems, delivering benefits, significant benefits from paper capture, email management, bringing it all together into a single source solution. And so what we have for you today is a live demonstration of Docusoft, and this is the entry-level screen where a user is presented with all the functionality to allow them to search and retrieve for all correspondence, be that email, Word, Excel, and paper documents, and distribute them using workflow tools. So where this demonstration tends to start is from a search capability. So I'm going to show you how we're going to locate documents based on search and retrieval. We're searching for client-related documents, so I can type in a client and I type in a character string and it gives me a subset of the database. We import master client files, client lists from a variety of different applications. We don't worry whether you're an Irish user, a Practice Engine, a Digito user. We will import your client list. We find a client, we run a search, and we get a set of documents that match the search that you have entered.
Okay, so once the document's been scanned, you've got a search capability. Once it's been on the system in the post, you can find it.
Absolutely, yes. So we have paper, we have Word documents, we have emails. Once it's been captured, it's in the client file, and it can be displayed very, very quickly using a generic viewer, which is on the right-hand side of this screen. So I'm currently looking at a Word document. I know that because on the left-hand grid, we can see there's a W for Word. But if I use the down arrow, we can now see a piece of paper that's been scanned, and that's a PDF. And then further on down, there's a note that I've used using one of our note facilities to capture a phone note or a client note, whichever tool you want to use. There's an email. As I'm scrolling down the grid, As you can see now, the email is displayed in a viewer, and it's the same viewer for every document. So the concept here is that the grid presents you with a list of related documents, and the viewer presents them in a very fast way. Okay, the next document down is a zip file. I'll just wait for everybody to be able to see that on the screen. You can see that there's the contents of the zip file presented on the right-hand side, and each component of the zip file is available to be retrieved. If I just double-click on the Excel spreadsheet, as you can see, there is the Excel spreadsheet presented as part of the zip file. Okay, so if I just come back out of there and back to the grid, and the next document down is an Excel spreadsheet, and as you can see, it also comes up in the viewer. So the concept here is extremely fast retrieval. It doesn't matter what the document type is. It doesn't matter where the source of that document was, be it paper, email, Word, Excel, zip. Everything is displayed in the same viewer extremely quickly. We're not having to launch original document products every single time. And just to confirm that, if I carry on scrolling down the grid, you can see there's a PDF followed by an email. And I'm just waiting for screen refreshing, so bear with me while I'm pausing fractionally. Followed by another email, and onwards and upwards and downwards from the grid. Okay, so it's very important for us to deliver a solution which allows a client file to be searched and retrieved extremely quickly, much quicker than you'd have to go to a filing cabinet and pull a paper-based file. So just to confirm, on the search panel, we can filter the search by a filing structure. Okay, so I was currently previously looking at the complete client file. I can now filter the search based on a given filing structure, and this filing structure is fully customizable. So the concept here is that you, the user, builds your own filing structures according to what you want.
So when they sit with you, Robin, they say, this is the way we do things. You might make a few suggestions, as Kevin said, for improvements, but you say, right, that's the way we'll replicate it electronically.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is my demonstration filing structure. Kevin's implementation would be similar to this, but probably not the same. And if it wasn't correct after a year, after a week, after a month, it can be changed by yourselves, not by us, the supplier. Mm-hmm. So it's completely flexible. And if I filter the search based on the general correspondence and run the search again, as you'll notice, I just get the general correspondence documents. And again, I'll just wait for the screen refresh. There you go. So you can see here that I've color-coded the sections. So you can see this is I'm only displaying the general correspondence file. Okay, and again, sorry. And if I go back and take out the general correspondence and run that for the last 6 months, you can see you can select on date ranges. And what I'm trying to present here is the flexibility of the search and retrieval with color-coded file sections. Documents are delivered in date order, but the sort sequences can be changed. You can even filter on document type, so you can see we can just get...
Yeah, so if you've got a spreadsheet for a client, you want to find it, you just sort of search out the spreadsheets.
You just search out the spreadsheets and you'll see the spreadsheets at the top of the screen.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so if I put it back to item date order, again, just wait for the refresh there. Okay, so put it back to item dates, you're getting the most recent at the top. Okay, so just an explanation on what you can do with a document once it's in the system. Okay, so I have a PDF. I can do things with it in the sense that I could graphically overlay it with some comments. For example, I could put a draft stamp on the document, or I could circle some area of interest that I want the colleague to review. Okay, and if you save the stamp, you're not altering the original document, you're providing a graphical overlay to the document to allow for internal procedures or even for external procedures. Okay, so it's a very interesting tool which is audited. The actual functionality here, we know who added these overlays, we know the date and time that they did it, and the underlying document is unaltered. The key facility here for compliance purposes is that the document cannot be amended and cannot be deleted. Okay, so